Hi everybody and welcome to the final edition of Friday Art Class with me, Adrian Margie. I feel like we've been on a bit of a journey together over the course of lockdown. Through our artwork and through these art classes we have explored some of the country's finest and most iconic landmarks and landscapes. Today I'm going to be finishing up by painting my favourite beach, Whiterocks, just outside Portrush. Whiterocks is known for its amazing limestone cliffs that run all the way from Strand right down to Dundas Castle. The soft limestone rocks have been carved over the centuries by the wind and the ocean to create a real maze of caves and arches. So it's that iconic limestone cliff face that is going to be the main focus of this piece. I'm going to really enjoy exploring all of the organic shapes that are held within the cliff face. We're also going to incorporate the stretch of golden sand. And I want this piece to evoke summer. I want it to evoke a sense of fun and freedom, and I want it to be a real celebration of the natural world. So now it's time to draw up. Before we start, I just want to mention the shape of canvas that I'm using today. It's 24 by 40 inch canvas. It's skinnier than normal, and it'll allow me to really capture the whole length of the Whiterocks cliff face. As usual, we're going to divide the canvas up both vertically and horizontally into thirds. So the top third is going to be dedicated to the sky, the middle third will house the Whiterocks, the cliff face, and the bottom third will house most of the sea and the sand. As I said, we're going to be working in my contemporary style today, so whenever you're sketching up, the real thing to remember is I want to simplify shape and form. I want to really focus on all of those magnificent shapes held within the cliff face, all of the curves, all of the arches and the caves. So we start with the distant headlands, just marking those in. Really just trying to capture all of the shapes within the limestone. So the sketch, as usual, is to be kept pretty simple because we're going to be painting over the top of it. We just want to mark in, so we've got the sea here and we're going to have some wet sand on the beach. So we'll mark that in as a guide, very much a sweeping line, just to show us where this wet sand is going to be. And some of the other little rock formations, the ever-changing rock formations that you have on Whiterocks Beach. As I was saying, I want this piece to be very warm and celebratory. So I'm going to create a very vibrant piece. I'm going to use vibrant colours. I'm going to be inspired by all the tremendous sunsets that we've had over the past few months. So I'm going to mix up some reds and oranges to create a very warm sky. So mixing up the white with some yellow ochre, create that cream colour which I'm going to use just to paint in the horizon. Then we're going to add and infuse the other colours into it. So we're going to mix up some orange and red. Adding the orange and red into the white. a bit more white into that just to blend the colour into the horizon. See, I'm using quite fast brush strokes here. And mixing up a deeper colour to go on top of that. So it's quite rich, quite warm. Red and orange. All the time blending into the colour beneath. Now we're going to move on to the hills that sit behind the limestone cliff face. We're going to mix up some dark blue, ultramarine blue as the base colour. That'll really define these hills. As I said in my other class, it's really key to use your brush in a way that mirrors the contours of the land. So follow the sweeping, flowing lines of the land in your brushwork. So you can see how these hills just sort of sweep down. And adding some white and a little bit of red into that blue colour. We're mixing up this lighter colour for use in the hills that sit behind. And for a bit of contrast, add in some sweeping strokes off the lighter colour into the dark blue base colour, providing a bit of highlight. Also at this stage, it's good to add in a little bit of green to the mix, just to emphasise those highlights. And again, just touches of green. Now, in the distance hills, you catch glimpses of the limestone sitting underneath the grass. So it's good to add that in at this point. Just a suggestion of the limestone peeking through. Don't be afraid to dip into the blue there to just add some contours. At this stage, I'd like to add in the white of the limestone cliff face. It's really the key to the entire piece, over which we can add other colours. Again, we're going to mix up some white and yellow ochre for the colour of the rock. again, this really is just the base colour. In a scene like this, we want the white rock to perhaps reflect some of the colours from the sky. There's all sorts of interesting shadows that are created. Also adding in some of those reds and oranges from the sky. Now we don't want too much of this because you don't want to lose the white rock itself. Just hints here and there. And the base of the white rocks is often a little bit discoloured with sort of shades of greens and browns. It's affected by the sea, obviously. So just some hints of that creeping up the rock. We have this other line of rock here in the foreground. So we're going to actually outline some of the contours with a mixture of blue and magenta. That's blue and purple colour. Just to give a bit of structure to it. And when we have that structure, now we're going to mix up some white and yellow ochre again. I'm going to blend that in the darker outline. You can really see the shape of this rock. And then, of course, adding some of those warmer shades of the sky into the rock as well. So mixing up a little bit of red with orange and some white. And just introducing hints of that colour. Using a fingertip just to blend that in. Just adds to the sense of warmth in the image, you know. Now we're going to add some of the vegetation that we see on top of the rocks and growing through the rocks. So we take some cerulean blue just to mark it in. Acts as a bit of a contrast to the blue behind. And then on top of this, backdrop, we're going to add in strokes of vibrant green and yellow. We're now going to mix up some more greens and blues for the grasses that sit on top of the cliff. Now we're going to work on those distant headlands that sit behind the White Rocks, and we're also going to see a glimpse of Dunluce Castle sitting up there as well. And some ultramarine blue. These distant hills, very distinctive shape. They sit in behind Dunluce Castle there. Okay, so just marking those in with some light green. So now taking a fine brush and mixing up some white with magenta and a little bit of blue. We're mixing up this sort of purple tone to add in Dunluce Castle. So you can just about still see my basic outline of a sketch. So you're just basically adding in the impression of the ruins here. All those gables and chimney columns that are remaining, creating the impression of the castle sitting there. And so there we have the basics of the cliff face, all right, marked in. We're now going to move on. We're going to add in the water, and then we're going to add in the wet sand and the dry sand. And they will all act as a backdrop to some of these interesting rocks that you find scattered along Whiterocks Beach. So for the water, I want to mix up like a turquoise blue colour, and to that I'm going to add some hints of reds and oranges as the colours of the sky will be reflected in the water. So taking some cerulean blue and a little bit of that vibrant permanent green and lots of white, we achieve this sort of turquoise colour. You may remember from other lessons that when I'm painting water, I start with vertical strokes of colour. And then I brush over them with sweeping horizontal strokes, create the effect of light on the water. So, as I say, we start with these vertical strokes of turquoise, mixing up some more blue and green and white here, adding them in. And don't be afraid to use lots of paint. Okay, so you get the idea. Now we add in some white. Just adding in some strokes of white that will help to blend the strokes of turquoise together. And just using the same brush without washing out the colour, dip into your orange and red. And now mixing up some orange and red, just add a few strokes of that, a few vertical strokes through the water as a means of reflecting the warmth in the sky. Okay, next step, get some white on the brush, and we're going to do some sweeping horizontal strokes to create the effect of light on water. Looking at this, I think we maybe lightened the water too much, so I mixed up some more blue and green again. I want to reintroduce some of that depth of colour, so a few more vertical strokes. Okay, and we're going to clean the brush. And horizontal strokes again. Alright, and now we're going to move on to the wet sand. So it's the same idea, it's like vertical strokes of colour, which will be the colours of the sand, so the ochres, the oranges, the yellows, the reds, with some strokes of the colour of the sea, those blues and greens and whites. And once the vertical strokes are applied, then we use swift horizontal strokes to create that effect of reflecting light. So yellow, ochre and white. Again, starting with horizontal strokes. Adding in lots of white. Don't be afraid to blend it with the wet sand. Actually, white is quite a good colour to do that with. Just let them merge into each other. Some yellow this time. Again, lots of white. Hints of red again. Plenty of water in your brush now. You're just going to smooth this out with horizontal strokes. Now we want this part of the sand to be very blended compared to the wet sand, okay? So we don't want to see a lot of crisscrossing of strokes. We want it to be quite blended and soft. So you can see the seam's really progressing now. The next stage is to add in some of the rocks that are dotted along the beach. I'm just going to change my water. It's getting pretty muddy at this stage. A lot of these rocks are going to be white, so you want some nice crisp white, and for that you're going to need some clean water. A few darker rocks as well, so mixing up some ultramarine blue and burnt umber to create a very dark brown. Just almost black really. And I love the contrast between the dark rocks and the white rocks. And before we start to introduce some definition into the piece by outlining elements in black, I just want to add in the waves. Again, using a very thin brush called a rigger and loading that with white paint. I'm going to just add in the suggestion of the waves as they lap onto the shore here. To bring some definition to the piece, I've mixed up some ultramarine blue and burnt umber brown to create a dark brown colour again, similar to the colour that we used in the rocks. And we're going to use this with this thin brush to outline all of the key shapes within the piece, to emphasise all of the caves and that maze of sweeping lines that we find at Whiterocks Beach. If you don't have a rigger brush, feel free to use a marker or another thin paintbrush. We're now going to add in some white outlines for increased definition and highlight. So again, taking the rigger brush and adding some white paint. And there we have it, my finished depiction of Whiterocks Beach in Portrush. I've used my bold, contemporary, signature style to create a really warm, celebratory image of our beautiful coastline. So thank you for joining me for the final Friday art class. I hope you have enjoyed the art classes over the past few weeks, and I hope you've gained an insight into my different styles of working. I've really enjoyed receiving your depictions of my paintings, so please keep sending them in. And can I also take this as an opportunity to remind you of the giant collaborative art project that I'm working on. I would love for as many of you as possible to join in. Please send me a painting of your favourite place painted onto a hexagonal shaped piece of paper or card. And I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to join them together to create one huge joined art piece. And if you could send them to me to 99 Mark Street, Portrush, County Antrim, BT 56 8BU, and I look forward to receiving them. Okay, that's all for now. I hope you have a great summer, I hope you stay well, and I hope you get out and about to enjoy the beautiful landscape that surrounds us. Take care and happy painting.